What medical schools do not want you to know about medical school interview prep help. Hey, BeMo Nation, welcome to another episode of our One Question podcast. My name is Franza, and I'm a senior admissions expert here at BeMo. And I'm also joined with my colleague, Meng Yang, who's another senior admissions expert at BeMo. So we have nothing to sell you here. It's just pure strategies and tips so everyone has access to equal education, of course. Now, in case you've never watched or listened to one of these before, they are completely unscripted. So no fancy visuals, audio, anything of that nature. It's just pure content. Now we have 10 minutes to tackle a new topic each week. And this week's topic, as I mentioned, is what medical schools do not want you to know about the medical school interview prep. So I'm going to begin my timer here. Make sure that everyone sees it. Okay. Wonderful. So, Meng, now I know we've heard a lot surrounding medical school interview help, and there's a lot of myths, and there's two myths that we've seen circulate a lot, and I think we should definitely elaborate on debunking those and why we strongly feel against those. First and foremost, there are no right or wrong answers. I know you'll get into this a little bit, but just to clarify with this, you guys, we have seen with our mentorship, with statistics, there are clearly ethically right, wrong answers, politically correct answers, and depending on the context, literally right or wrong answers. Myth number two, you can't really prepare in advance. So I know both of these kind of house many different topics and subcategories, Meng. So why don't you begin by tackling one of these, and hopefully we can kind of elaborate on what they should know to help prepare for a medical school interview.
Absolutely. Let's go with the first myth there. There are no right or wrong answers. If that were true, then, well, it would be completely pointless to do medical school interviews, because then everyone would be on the same playing field after that hurdle.
Everyone would get in.
Yeah, everyone would get in, right? So there's a reason why some people get admitted after the interview and some people get put on the wait list or get rejected after the interview. And that is because there are right or wrong answers in that stage. And you want to be able to practice doing the right thing when you go to your interview. The second myth, Ronza, if you could remind me what that one was, and we can tackle it.
It's you can't really prepare in advance for the interview.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely a myth as well, because we have seen with the hundreds and thousands of students that we work with every single year that their performance is markedly improved from the very first time they work with us to the very last time they work with us before they go to their interviews. Their delivery is better, the content they choose is better and more comprehensive. Just in general, they are much more confident interviewees. And so there's a lot that you can do to prepare yourself to do well at an interview. Now, I know what medical schools are worried about when they say that, prep doesn't work or getting help doesn't work. And that is, they're afraid that candidates will be disingenuous or they won't be genuine in their interviews. They'll be coached to respond and give answers that don't actually reflect who they are as individuals, as candidates. And certainly, that I can see exactly why that would be a concern. That would definitely throw off their ability to evaluate the candidate and select the best candidate for the profession. Now, the thing that's inaccurate about that concern, at least for some prep that's out there, including what we do here at BeMo, is that we're not here to teach candidates to express themselves in a disingenuous way. We're simply here to give them the strategies and help to guide them in terms of being just better individuals as a baseline, right? Understanding how to navigate these types of questions, understanding what kinds of content, what structures to use when they're answering different kinds of questions. And of course, the content is still from them, it's still genuine. When they answer a personal question, we encourage them to use their personal experience that they have. And to be honest, when we've worked with students who are obviously giving made up answers, we tell them that they can't do that because it's unethical. Right. So hopefully that addresses that.
No, that was great, Meg. So I guess you could say in summary, what medical school, what they don't want you to know with the help is that it genuinely can help you. It can help you to prepare. It can help you to come up with meaningful, genuine responses that are not necessarily memorized, but certainly reflect who you are as an applicant. So I think moreover to that, you mentioned some of these structures and you talked about making sure that you're organized and that, you can attribute more to getting the right answers versus the wrong answers that we kind of highlighted. Can you kind of discuss to everyone listening here, what are some of those strategies that we would advise on structuring, some common questions or just preparing them to ensure that they, are not memorizing, but they have organized thought when they're about to answer to any of the questions asked?
Well, this is a whole big topic on its own, but just to be quite brief here, you can categorize interview questions into different types. That's not a secret. And you can develop approaches to each type. Some of the common ones that we've seen in interviews are obviously the personal question. That's one of the big ones because they want to get to know you, your candidacy, your person, your experiences. Another one that we see often, especially in an interview type like the MMI, is scenario questions or situation-based questions where they give you a situation and they give you a role and you're asked to navigate the situation as that person. And that one, I can briefly say, is fairly straightforward, despite it being kind of daunting to a lot of people. You identify what the most pressing issue is. Usually it's the well-being of somebody who's going to be impacted by that situation. You gather the missing information that is not given to you in the prompt so that you can make a non-judgmental decision about what to do. And then you run through a couple of hypothetical scenarios that could arise and your solutions to each of them. And that helps you to kind of cover your ground, not be biased, not be judgmental, and showcase various traits of yours that admissions committees will want to look for, including conflict resolution, being able to navigate ethical dilemmas, all those kinds of interpersonal skills that they're looking for.
Amazing. So, that right there actually demonstrates that you can certainly prepare in organizing your thought and making sure that, you ace the interview. Now, what are, I guess, some of the strategies we can say of not so much focusing on structures, but just prepping overall? Right. So we've already said that you could prepare and you need to start early. How much time should someone gauge to preparing for an interview, and how should those practice sessions kind of go? How should the setup be to make it most effective for them?
Well, generally, we say that you should start as early as you can. A lot of people will wait until they get their interview invites before they actually begin to do the prep, but that might be too late because you may only have a couple of weeks before the actual date. I would say at least 2 months is a good amount of time to prepare so that you can really space out the interview prep that you do. And the best way to do the interview prep is to engage in realistic simulations, because you can only really understand your performance on the day of if you've been practicing in a setup that's similar to what you will experience that day. So that includes timing yourself if your interview is timed, practicing with someone you don't know very well, because your interviewer will also be someone who is a brand new person to you. You've never met them before, and the way you communicate your ideas is going to be different when you talk to your family and friends than when you talk to someone who is a complete stranger in a formal context. Even down to basic things like dressing professionally when you do your mock interviews can help you to prepare, because doing that gives you additional stress, and you want to be able to know what that stress feels like on the day of your interview. So bottom line is start as early as possible and do realistic prep.
There you go. And we still have a minute and a half. Meg, if you want to add anything else that we may not have touched base here that could help students to prepare for the medical school interview. Is there anything else to add?
Yeah, probably preparing in advance is a great way to also manage your stress. I know a lot of people think about that when they're preparing. And a lot of people think about stress as something that just happens, that they can't do anything about, and they just have to kind of ride it and get through it. But that's absolutely not true. And that is something that prep can help you with. The more practice you get, the more comfortable you will be with doing this exercise, and the more confident you will be on the day of your interview. So actually prepping is a really important stress management strategy that we recommend for long-term prep, long-term stress management. Of course, there are lots of short-term ones that you can do and activate while you're kind of waiting for your interview, or sometimes even during the interview itself. But prep is a big one for managing stress.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. Lots of short-term strategies, long-term strategies, but prepping in advance definitely gives you the confidence to overcome a lot of the stress that I've seen with students here. Wonderful. Thank you so much. That gives us 10 seconds left. I'm going to pause that there. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you like this as much as we enjoyed making it, definitely go ahead, share it with a friend, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And do ask questions. You could go ahead in the comment section, and see you next time.